Assalamu alaikum viewers. This is Nabeel Khalid on Career 360 Talk, and we have a very interesting guest with us. And I would first introduce herself, and then we will talk about so many things about leadership and leadership coach, business coach, and others. And we would love to ask, or we would love to have questions that you would ask. So she is Yollana Shore. Welcome, Yollana, to the show.
Thank you. It's great
She's
to be
a
here.
she's a she's a leadership coach, and she's a founder at Awakening Leadership with Yollana. So uh, she has a vast experience in training people to become leaders. She inculcates leadership in people. So she's really good at, and often I watch her videos, and I ask questions about leadership. So we would do that right now. If you have any questions, you can ask her. Yurana, first of all, tell us about leadership. What is leadership in simple words? Because so many people know it, but we want to hear it in your words.
Thanks, Nabeel. Well,
You're welcome.
I think of leadership not as a position, but as a process. So it's something that anybody has access to, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in your life. Leadership is really about the way that you relate to the people around you. It's about the way that you relate to the problems in your life and the way that you relate to your own goals and dreams and intentions. And I heard a very simple definition of leadership, which I find really, really helpful. And I've used ever since. Some years ago, I heard it. And it was that leadership is a process where you work together with others to bring a vision into reality. So it's the
Ah,
way
very
that
interesting.
we bringing people together to achieve a common vision, you know? And
All right.
sorry, we must
Uh,
have a little lag, but I think that it for me that's an important vision because it important definition because it speaks to two key parts of leadership, and one is that you don't do it on your own, that it is about working collectively with others, and the second is that leadership is about moving things forward. It's about you have to have a goal or a vision. You have to be literally leading somewhere. So you have to be leading to a place, which is not where you are now. And you have to be leading people, not just yourself. I mean, there is such a thing as self-leadership, but generally it's about doing things that are bigger than just us and working together to achieve them.
all right. When it is a general conception, when we hear leadership or about leader, one thing comes to our mind. We think of power, authority, and controlling people. How do you think? Why is it so? Why the perception is totally on the contrary, totally a 180-degree shift? Why is it so? Because as you said, it's about teamwork. It's about having qualities, and but why such a perception in our minds?
Well, I think we really live in a very interesting time right now in the evolution of society and humanity because we have behind us, you know, generations, like thousands of years of hierarchical systems where the idea is that there's a leader on the top and they make the decisions and, you know, they tell the people underneath what to do and like that. And it it is certainly it's one way that leadership can work, and it's not that that's entirely wrong or you know that top down leadership shouldn't work, because what it does do is it creates efficiency and it allows sort of everyone to it allows there to be like someone with an overview or a team with an overview and then everyone to know what they're doing. So that kind of leadership, it does work. But one of the challenges that we have now at this point is that we have, since we've entered the information era, we have this huge impact of knowledge on society. And it's creating the, you know, the era of knowledge and knowledge workers, and the number of people who are educated and who are innovating means that we're experiencing change in every single industry at a rate much faster than we ever had before. And what that means is that the top, if you have like a single or a small group of leaders at the top, they're no longer able to keep up with what the people at the front line or at the, at the bottom, are actually doing, or where the innovations are happening, or what the changes are in the marketplace, in the customers. So you can see like we're in this new environment where things are happening a lot faster. And really the very rigid hierarchical models of leadership aren't serving us in the way that they have in the past. Like they're just not flexible and fluid and fast enough to catch up with the amount of information that's flowing through our systems. And so if we work only with hierarchical leadership styles, we end up bottlenecking the information flow, the communication flow, and the productivity. So it's kind of an interesting time that we're at now, where it makes a lot more sense, if you're a leader, to start thinking differently about how you work with people. And the beauty of it is that if you lead in a more visionary way, that you attract people into your organization or your team or your nonprofit or your institution, and you attract people who see and care about the vision that you have, and you create alignment with that vision within your teams, then you can trust people more to innovate and to initiate action and to run with projects based on that understanding and alignment of the vision, the collective vision.
Very interesting. One thing I could recall, because we have seen the success of democracy. It's a way of running governments, right? And the failure of dictatorship. So they were both styles of leadership, but this evolution process in politics have revealed that the more we delegate powers, the more we take interest in other people, we listen to them, the better the system succeeds. And we have seen drastic failure of all the dictatorship in history. And even we have seen wars that happened under those leaders who were dictators, right? So interesting, very interesting. uh, let's move on further. We have talked about leadership, and now I would
Well,
like to
can
hear
I pause you,
sure,
Nabeel?
please,
Because
please.
you raised the issue of power earlier, and I've
Yeah,
spoken about the structure of the hierarchy. But really, when we're talking about power, one of the things to consider is the idea of power over, or power with, or power for. Like, it's
interesting.
important that leaders are powerful. You need to be able to be comfortable with power. You need to be able to use power. But the question is, what are you using that power for? And if the purpose of the power is linked to the vision and is linked to the values of your organization, and you're clear about what you're trying to achieve with the power, then it's not it's not necessary to it's not necessary to kind of use power over people. It's possible to empower people to create this vision with you. It's empowering others to work with you, and
So
to
you mean
distribute the power in an organization or in a team
uh-huh,
more
uh-huh,
evenly.
so you mean it's about having power, like leaders have powers, but it depends on how they use it.
It
If
depends.
they are
Yep.
using it for their vested interest, it's the abuse of power. If they are working for the welfare of people, it's proper use of power, and that's how they get trust. They build trust with the people, and that's how they grow together. They all grow. Nice. All right, let's move further. You are a leadership coach. Tell our audience who are watching now and who would watch later what leadership coaching is.
Well, I work in a couple of areas. So, as an executive coach, when I'm working with senior leaders, it's really about being a sounding board and a space outside of the organization where you can look at some of the dynamics, look at your own response to them, look at what's going on, like become more self aware. One of the big challenges in any organization or team is that leaders have a particular blind spot. And that blind spot
Mhm.
is that to do with founder syndrome. So it's to do with that whoever is kind of holding that position at the top, whatever's going on in their heart, their mind, their perspective, their culture will impact the people in the team. It'll impact the culture of the whole organization. And so it puts an extra pressure on leaders to really bring their best selves to their leadership and to become very self-aware of their strengths as well as the weaknesses, and be able to kind of get another perspective. And often leaders find it difficult to know who they can talk to because they may have, for example, a board, and the board needs them to present things in a certain way, and then they may have their peers or their team, and those people also have particular needs related to the structure of the business. So part of what I do is actually be able to meet a leader as a human being and to work with them personally about
Mhm.
what they need as a human being to show up in the structure that they're showing up in and use the power that they have in a way that's effective, that achieves their personal goals and also achieves the goals for the organization.
Very interesting. So, is it about something inculcating in people? Is it not something outside? It's something inside. Like,
Yeah,
so you
that's right.
work. Mm-hmm.
The type of leadership coach I am, the truth is, I've never run the largest business I've run was a restaurant and a accommodation business with a small staff. So I'm not a mentor type of coach. I'm not someone who's already had a business where I had 300 staff under me, as some of my clients do. So I'm not someone who can help with the with your profession, with the technical side of leadership.
Interesting.
That's what my clients know for themselves. But what I help with is with leadership presence and mastering your leadership presence so that you can show up confident, inspired, engaged, and able to make a difference, that you're clear, you're focused, that you know what's doing, and you're not kind of um, just getting confused about things, really.
Okay. Okay. Before moving further, clear one thing to our audience that
Mm.
who is a leader again? Like, is it related to somebody sitting at the top, or people working at the manager level, or even at the bottom level? It's like who
Yeah.
needs to learn about leadership? Is it something which we all need, or only sitting at the top?
100% it's something that we all need. And actually, just to give an example of this, I was having a conversation with someone who was uh, previously the CEO of a very large telco in Australia, like one of our major telcos. And he was saying, from his perspective, and I think this is just helpful to hear and see if you're someone who is at the beginning of your career journey and you're thinking about what is my connection with leadership. He was saying, well, often people think, oh, like they have ideas, but they feel so nervous to bring them to their boss or their supervisor. It's like, oh, I don't want that. Their time is so precious, and 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 from the perspective on the other side, he said, if someone brought me an idea, I'd either say yes or no. I'd either approve it or not. But there's not all of that. I'm interested. I'm interested in what is if you have an idea to make this company better, please come and tell me. So it's just an example of how leadership is the ability to take initiative, the ability to solve problems, the ability to see what people need beyond yourself is
Hmm.
is leadership. And when you start to look at your life through those eyes, people start to notice. So I know it can sound confusing when I talk about my work with executives, and then I'm saying, yeah, but leadership is everyone. But it is. It's like that's currently where I'm working. But in fact, leadership development is for everyone, and I just personally haven't yet done a lot of work with, teams or people who are just, beginning to develop their leadership talents. So I would
Hmm.
like to.
Hmm.
I would like to do more of it.
Nice. You
Yeah.
are doing a wonderful job, right? Like I have heard, we have seen so many, sessions happening that, uh, inculcating leadership in managers. So I guess it belongs to everyone. Even as you have said, it's something related to skills, something which people need to learn, and what leadership is, or these are qualities, right? If I can say that. So what do you think? What are basic qualities of a leader, or what are qualities that you inculcate in people, that you teach them, or ask them to learn, or polish their own qualities? What are those?
So there are many different approaches to, like, the 6, the 20, the 5, the 10, key competencies or qualities or skills that leaders need. And there's a lot of different assessments that you can do, and all
I
of
wish
those.
you tell us all these 10th or 20th.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
But
love
for
to
me,
hear these from you.
but for me, um, what I'm interested in developing most of all is presence. I think that if it kind of comes down to the human side of leadership, is if you know how to be present in yourself, if you can be aware of your own emotions, your own thoughts, and your own physical body in the space, and the through that you can kind of use all of your leadership intelligence. This is part of the work that I do, is around embodied leadership intelligence. So most of us are used to using our logic, our intellect, to process information and make decisions about uh, the world, or make leadership decisions. And over the past 20 years or so, the whole concept of emotional quotient, like your EQ, your emotional
Mm.
intelligence, has become more popular, and people are starting to understand they need emotional and social intelligence to process information and make decisions about the world. But one of the things that I discovered has been missing in the leadership information is a real deeper understanding of embodied intelligence, the information that comes in your gut, when you have the gut instinct about something, or also just in general through your whole body, not just your feeling heart, not just your logical mind, but our whole bodies are intelligent instruments. And so a lot of the time it can help if leaders actually understand how to use your whole body intelligence when you're processing information, when you're dealing with people, when you're making decisions. And this is especially important, as I mentioned, because there's more and more change happening in the world, in the marketplace, in business and industry. And change happens a lot faster. There's a lot more uncertainty. And often we have to make decisions based on unknown quantities. Like, even if we have some of the facts, we don't have all of them. And so how we make decisions, good decisions, in this time is important. And for me, those good decisions happen inside of people. They happen inside of leaders. And so if you think about it, your body, your mind, your heart is the vehicle of your leadership. And so for me, the focus when I'm working with leaders is on getting that as a really clear, powerful vessel for leadership. Like, we know how to go to the gym and work out our body for physical fitness, but most people don't consider, how do I work out my body for leadership intelligence? How do I tune myself and prepare myself so that when people are coming to me, I'm communicating easily with them. When problems occur in my business or in my team, I can easily access solutions from inside of myself, or can easily bring, the team together to access solutions collectively. So that's, at the very core of it, if there's one quality, it's you.
Nice. Very, very
If I could
interesting.
say
Yeah,
there's one quality you need for
that's you.
leadership, it's you. It is you. It is you, the leader, is the one thing that you need to be able to lead. And
Hmm.
and sometimes we're not fully present. We're not even here. We're thinking about yesterday, we're thinking about tomorrow, we're somewhere else in our mind, we're distracted. And when you bring yourself fully present to the challenges in your organization, in your team, you can come up with effective solutions. You can lead powerfully. And, so that simple ability to be present is probably, if
Hmm.
I could choose one, it would be that.
Uh-huh. All right, very interesting. You just talked about gut feeling. So I guess is
Mm-hmm.
it about instincts, or is it about, something like intangible, something spiritual? Like you talk about body, mind. So it comes in domains of spiritual intelligence, right? So if we sum up all these,
Yes.
or we can say it's a mixture of emotional quotients, and you are physically fit, but you need to be present with your mind and body.
Mind and body, exactly. I wouldn't say just spiritual, because the embodied side of things is actually like our embodied intelligence originates from the part of us that can sense danger before we see it. Like the animal instinct is also a part of our body intelligence. So there are, quite
It's
deep.
naturally negative. Like we take fear
Yeah.
before we get think of anything positive. We perceive fear, and we take actions accordingly. And it
Yeah.
shouldn't be like it shouldn't be like we shouldn't be doing it right now, because leadership is all about seeing positive, building trust, and trusting in other people as well, right?
Yes, well, yes, but sometimes leadership, depending on the business you're in, it really can be about minimizing risk. It
Risk,
can
yeah.
be about
All
keeping people safe. It can, it can be about protecting assets. And so, um, the fear is a really interesting emotion, because there's kind of two types of fear. One
Mm-hmm.
is one is the fear that is the direct response to an actual threat. And what that fear does is it causes us to go into action to solve the problem. It's like you feel, oh, something's wrong, I need to fix it, right? And so you do. Ideally,
Mm-hmm.
you think something's wrong and you fix it. Um, However, sometimes we have, instead of the in the moment direct response fear, sometimes we have fear conditioning. We have fearful habits, and those are sort of like old fears from the past that are being projected onto the present situation. And those kind of fears can block us from experiencing the potential, or from exploring new possibilities that may actually be exactly what the business needs. So that's the kind of emotional and embodied intelligence, is you want to be able to, as a leader, tell the difference between which type of fear you're experiencing, so that you can process the information that you're getting and make an appropriate action with it.
So it's a mix of emotional questions, spiritual questions, or IQ is also important. So if
Absolutely. And I,
somebody,
I, I like to just emphasize that is, you know, um, it's not for me about saying that one of these types of intelligence is more is higher than the other or better than the other. It's just literally about acknowledging that we have more than one type of intelligence. And so if you have a lot of responsibility, if you have a really important role, or you have important projects, or just things that matter to you, wouldn't it make sense to use all of your intelligence to work on it,
Mhm.
So it's not
Exactly,
about saying, oh,
sometimes we need to use emotional intelligence We need
Yeah.
to connect with people emotionally, and then we can get to work.
Yeah,
You're right.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And if you
Mhm.
understand your different, your rational, intellectual intelligence, your emotional, social intelligence, and this embodied and instinctual intelligence, if you are present at how each of those operate in your leadership, then you can know when to apply them, and you can kind of use them, kind of line them up with each other. So you're making better
Mhm.
decisions.
Nice, very interesting, very interesting. Okay, those who are watching now and watch later, if they want to, inculcate or learn something about leadership, they want to look into themselves and think of a leader, they being a leader, what should be the first starting point? What should they start doing in order to become a leader, or somebody who is whatever they are doing, they want to do it perfectly as a leader. So, what's the first step they need to do?
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge that there probably isn't such a thing as a perfect leader.
Hmm.
There
Hmm.
are Everybody has to find their own way. Like I said, at the end of the day, leaders are human beings, and so we each have our own unique approach to leadership. But the first step that I would recommend is to look at, maybe to write a list of who are the leaders who you admire anywhere in your life. It could be your parents, it could be a teacher, it could be, uh, a celebrity, it could be a business leader, it could be someone in the present, it could be someone in the past. But to write a list of as many of those as you'd like to acknowledge that you're really inspired by, that you think of as kind of mentors or inspirations to you. And then for each of those people to write down what it is about them that inspires you. What are the qualities you see in them?
Hmm.
And then I would say rate yourself on those qualities and
All right, all
decide
right.
decide where you want to start. Where is it that you want to start? If you see, someone is actually they're really good at networking, or I mean, like I mentioned before, there's probably hundreds of leadership qualities we could identify. There are so
Yeah.
many skills, because the field is very broad when you're talking about bringing visions into reality. And there's all of the technical and professional skills,
Exactly.
there's all of
Exactly.
the emotional, social, communication skills.
Mhm. So
A
we
lot
can
to it.
say that if somebody wants to step into it, he needs to first have a mentor or a role model,
Hmm.
and look or thoroughly study him, or meet him, see him, and
Yeah.
come up with some qualities that he possesses, or
Hmm.
he possesses, and then start learning those qualities one by one. So,
Yeah.
and then as you said, there are hundreds of qualities in a successful leader. And it would definitely change in different professions. Like a leader in politics must have different qualities. A leader in business, a leader in and further in business, somewhere. And as you said, you deal with some people working in hospitality, so they would have different qualities. Those working in other sector, public sector, or other private sectors. So
Absolutely.
we need to first identify our role model, who we want to become.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is, that's something that I like to do. Like I said, there are many other assessment models and different ways of doing it. But for me, I like to do that because I think we're all inspired by somebody. And when you know who you personally are drawn to and resonate with, I think that's something you can trust. It's like there's millions of people in the world, billions of people in the world, and there's millions of leaders, and for you to, from all of that, sort of start to cultivate your personal leadership vision, what leadership means to you. And you
Mhm.
can do that by looking for who you see as successful.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, you have used an interesting word, resonate with other. Like it's literally happens. Like you meet somebody, and
Hmm.
you take vibes from him or her, and sometimes it or most of the time these are very good vibes. You say you see something that is not visible, but you see something going on, symmetry, a chemistry match, or synchronization, or we resonate our feelings, or what we talk about. And exactly, that's how we can start idealizing somebody if we don't
Hmm.
have any ideal or any role model yet. All right. So, what do you think, having more than one or two mentors is good or bad? Like, or how much we can have, like more than two, three, four? How many mentors we should idolize? Or
Well, in terms of this exercise, you shouldn't overwhelm yourself. So it's good to start with maybe
what?
between two and five, or one.
Okay, okay.
You can see it's up to you how deep you want to take it. But at the end of the day, just choose one or two qualities of that list that you want to start with developing, and maybe come and look at it again in 3 months, 6 months, and see if you feel that you've developed that quality. If there's a different quality you want to develop now.
Interesting. And what's the role of having a mentor, one-on-one mentor in life?
Well, I think if you're talking about living mentors who you have an actual
Exactly.
relationship with, as
Yeah,
opposed to someone you're sort of,
yeah. You can meet him
idolizing,
in person.
yeah, it's always
Like somebody
valuable.
somebody guiding you,
Yeah.
like it can be your father, it can be your mother,
Hmm.
or maybe your teacher. So what do you think, how important is it for him to have in life a
I, I
mentor?
think I think it's pretty important, actually. I mean, um, I've definitely had a lot of mentors in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a lot from them. And it tends to be that someone has been a mentor more actively for a period of time. So I've gone and I've learned from them. I've done courses with them, and I've read everything that they write for, you know, years. And then that information, it becomes a part of me, and it informs how I show up in the world, who I am, and what I can then impart to others. So I do believe that choosing the company that you keep is a very important thing to do, really. It's
I heard
important
about
to
it.
choose your
It is.
company wisely.
Yeah, yeah, choose your company wisely, because we are some of five people that we spend with whom we spend the most of the time. So we are some of those five people. Like it works in a way that we unintentionally adopt things. We unintentionally learn what others do. So we learn from our peers. Interesting. All right. So anything you want to add, or you want to tell to people who are watching or who would watch later, that how they can start their learning, because it's all about learning. They are where they're standing now, or where they want to reach. There is a gap. So definitely it's all about working on ourselves. It's all about working with people, learning from them, and uh, like I want to say, it's learning, right? So how we can improve learning, and what are the sources of learning? Like I feel books one source,
Yeah.
traveling and mentors other. How many sources, or how important, which source is important? What you can say about it?
I would say that it's wonderful to have books. It's wonderful to have conversations. It's wonderful audio books and even movies. You can learn everywhere in life. But at the end of the day, the biggest teacher of leadership lessons is your own direct life experience. And
Nice.
so, in order to have those direct life experiences, you need to have courage. You need to try things out. You need to say things that you might be nervous to say or uncertain of. You need to approach people who you might feel shy to approach. Like, you need to give it a go. You need to just give it a go. Because the only way, I mean, you've heard from people like Richard Branson who've said, like they have failed so many times, that it's in the trying that we learn. And in the direct experience, from that, if you approach life with this mentality that you're
Mm-hmm.
learning, then you can't fail. Then
Mm-hmm.
everything becomes a learning experience, and everything becomes an opportunity to know more about yourself, to know more about others. If you approach life with an idea that there's winning and losing, and you know, if you get it right or wrong, you know, you you end up kind of closing yourself off to this incredible possibility of life, which is to just keep learning through every experience that you have.
Exactly, and that's what growth mindset is all about.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
but it's
you,
possible to get to think you're in a growth mindset, but just be reading books. And if you're in
yeah,
that,
of
if
course.
it's like if
Yeah,
you're in
yeah,
the
I was
thing
about
of
to say
you
that.
just read all the theory and you know how everyone does it, and and it's like if you're in that position, I would say have the courage to take the physical step, do the thing, whatever the thing
Exactly,
is for you, do the thing itself, like using your
exactly.
body, actually step into a different
Mm-hmm.
situation. And life
Yeah,
starts to
exactly.
happen
You're
when we
right. You're
move.
right. Because however visionary you are, it won't make any difference unless you try, unless you step in, unless you actually move the wheel.
Yeah.
So very very interesting. So like it's a very good answer that like we know so many things that teach us, but our experience is one of the important ones.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Nice. So, all right, all right. So, anything you want to add to it, or tell us, or anything you want to talk further about these things? Because it's a very vast topic. We can talk about it on and on and on, and we can. There are a number of things. If we explore to start talking about strengths, there are a number of strengths that leaders possess, that a coach possesses, and so on and so forth, right? So
Yeah.
any particular advice that you have learned, or you have anything that you have seen in successful leaders that you want to that one thing that you want to tell people that they should have or they should acquire.
I think if we come down to the one thing, I think I've said it. For me, it's like when I distill it, I like to keep things very simple, and I
Mm-hmm.
like to not get too caught up in big systems and frameworks. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like life is simple and leadership is simple. And if we
Mm-hmm.
get caught up making it too elite, like it's something that only after you've done all of these courses and all of these, experience
These are
tells us
catchy
that.
words.
Right.
Mm.
Experience
Yeah.
tells us that that's not the case, that people
Yeah.
become
Exactly. Exactly.
leaders, people build businesses, people start non-profits without any education or without, just based on their humanity. People start movements, people start religions, like all of it,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
from being a human being and from having your eyes open and from being who you are, from listening to what's in your heart, for having the courage to try the thing, from speaking with people and having the conversations, from
Building
caring,
relationship
from,
with them,
yeah, thinking about what you
being
look. There's,
flexible,
the only thing,
able
I
to take
guess,
risks.
if I could say one more thing about leadership, something that I'm quite passionate about is building your leadership legacy, is
Mm.
thinking about what is it that is the difference that you want to make beyond your immediate career and family and lifestyle success, beyond the success of the organization or team that you're a part of. When you think about humanity, or when you think about the environment, when you think about social and cultural justice or world peace, what is it? How can you connect your own individual leadership with these bigger questions and problems in the world right now? Because the reality is, like I said before, there's nearly 8 billion of us here on this planet. And we've got some pretty serious problems going on. We've messed a whole bunch of stuff up. And a lot of us are kind of waiting for the government to fix it or for the big corporations to fix it. And experience over thousands of years is telling us actually it doesn't work. What
Yeah.
what can work is for everybody to fix it. And I think often we don't because we feel like it's too much. It's overwhelming. Who am I to make a difference in some of those bigger picture issues? And it's true that none of us can make a difference on our own. But if we work collectively, if you find other people who also share the mission that you share, and maybe if you find the part of that bigger picture that matters to you, where you can make a difference, maybe it's homelessness, maybe it's sex trafficking, maybe it's racism, whatever part of
So
that
many issues.
story, maybe it's climate change, whatever part of that story that you want to work with and work towards, finding the place where your skills, your passions, and the needs of the world meet, and where you can make a difference, and then kind of aligning your leadership, like the work that you do in your own life, in your personal life, in your business, and in your team, aligning those things with those bigger picture, so that
Mm.
when so that you are engaged with the collective uh, what would I call it,
I would like to add something here. Like,
imperative, I would say, like the collective imperative of humanity. It's like we have some stuff that we need to do together, and
yeah,
more of us need to show up for it. So that's the last
yeah,
thing I would probably say about that,
you have
about
said it
leadership.
right. You have said
Yeah.
it right. Like, very interesting. As you said, legacy is one of the most important factor. Like, I remember John C. Maxwell. He's a top leader coach. He has written many books. So he said there are levels of leadership, but the most important level is the one where a leader creates other leaders who in turn create other leader. Like, it's a chain reaction, or you can say it's a chain thing. If you are a leader, you can empower other people, but you are the best one when you create a legacy, a leader like you, and he
Mm-hmm.
further creates other leaders. So exactly, that's a really good thing. And one last thing, then we'll be closing, as 40 minutes have passed. Very interesting discussion with you. One last thing, how important is a vision to have? What's the role of a vision in life? As you have just said, like, there are so many domains, there are so many problems in our life, in this whole world. We, as you said, environment, 2020 was the year, it was World Economic Forum that said the most important or drastic risk is that of environment.
Yeah.
So anyway, this COVID lockdown somehow healed the environment. So right, as you said, no more, no traffic, no carbon emission to the environment. So
Right.
it's healing naturally. So I would come back to the vision thing. How important is a vision to have, or how we can develop a vision? And I've seen. I would because it's a last question. I would share my experience, because if your vision is big, people will get attracted towards you. People would feel something, we feeling, and they would feel attached. Like, if I have a very big vision that you have seen most of leaders had in history, and they had a very big vision. People saw their vision in their vision. Like,
Yeah.
how important is a vision in our lives, and
I
how
think
we can.
I think you've said that so beautifully, Nabeel. Like, it's true that in a big vision, other people can see their own vision inside of it, and that's what allows us to achieve to deal with the bigger problems of our time collectively. So, I just want to. I can't say something better than that. It's beautiful.
Thanks
It's
very
very
much.
true.
All right.
Yeah, it's
All
beautiful.
right. You have already said about it a lot, very beautifully. that it's all about vision, and putting that vision in practice is all that matters. It's is
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it is
If
leadership actually.
when you're thinking about um, in terms of your legacy, like the vision for your impact, there is a poet, a guy called Andrew Harvey. He has some work called Sacred Activism, but he has something he says which I've always been touched by, which is find the cause that breaks your heart open, that
Mm-hmm.
breaks your heart open. And so I know that there's so much going on in the world that it can feel like, well, I can't solve all of it, so I'm not going to solve any of it. And if you could take that one bit of advice and to find, of all of the things that are going on, just find the one thing that really touches your heart and
Mm-hmm.
see if there, when something touches us personally, it gives us the energy and the motivation to make a difference. So it means that we have a natural fit with that cause, and then we can actually find that as we start to commit ourselves to serving it in some way, it, it actually gives you more energy. It gives you more energy for that cause. It gives you more energy for the other areas of your life and your leadership. So thinking about your impact is usually very energizing, actually, and personally fulfilling.
Nice, nice. Very nice talking with you. And we have thoroughly covered, like, it's a big thing, leadership, but you have nicely uh, touched and discussed all the aspects of leadership coaching, and how we can make a difference in life. So, thanks very much for coming. And our viewers, thanks for watching. We'll be in touch. If you have any question, you can ask. She can answer those questions later. So thanks,
Thank you,
Yollana.
Nabeel.
Thanks again
And
for
if
coming.
I could just say, if you want to find me, I have my website, yollana.com, and there
Yeah.
is, resources on there about leading in times of change that you can access. And also on
Mhm.
Facebook, I have the group where you and I met called
Yeah.
Build Your Leadership Legacy. You can connect
Yeah.
with me there. So
Actually, and I have noticed one thing, that you are the only person who are not living in Pakistan. You are a foreigner abroad, who has created a group for Pakistani, I guess. Like, so many people were asking you for the interview, and you have created a group. So it's a very nice thing. Like, I would say you have spared some time for them, for us, that we can ask you questions. Anyone can ask you question on that group. So again, thanks for doing good with our people.
yeah,
So.
you're so welcome. I do love meeting people from Pakistan, and that group was started for that purpose. And then now I've started to open it up for everyone. But
Mhm,
it's
mhm,
certainly been the way it started, and it's been a really
mhm.
lovely experience. Yeah.
Uh, okay, it's good talking with you. Yolana, take care. Thanks
Thank you,
for coming.
Nabeel.
Viewers, thanks for watching. We'll be in touch. Allah Hafiz.